field blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North Talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Hey, knock 'em out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North Talk. Let's go. Hey, AFC North Talk.
Welcome to another edition of AFC North Talk, presented by Manscaped. We're gonna be talking about them a little bit later. Great week for the AFC North Talk. Not that I wanted a great week for the North, but hey, I think everybody played well. We'll talk each game. We'll see how it was. I will say this: Q has a victory lap to take because this guy was predicting things left and right.
Like Forrest Gump since Sunday.
My goodness.
Everything I said was going to happen. That's all I'm saying. For everybody who ever want to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, literally, who told you to take the over? Quincy told you to take the over.
You made some money, Q?
Yeah.
Tell me you made some money.
I'm not allowed to disclose that information. All right. Told you to take the over in that game. Who told you Matthew Stafford is who he is? That was me. Told you. Oh yeah, Matt Stafford versus the Steelers. This sound like when he dropped it. Told y'all that. And who told y'all when y'all stood? I couldn't believe what I saw. I saw y'all stand 10 toes down on Jared Goff as if that man's name ain't been Jared Goff for the last decade, and we ain't seen these movies by Jared Goff. Nothing about Jared Goff and what he did on Sunday was new. Nothing that Jared Goff did there was unpredictable. Everything was predictable, but y'all fell into. You should have known. One of y'all said, "Look at Kirk Cousins," and you should have known right there that you messed up when you talk about look at Kirk Cousins. Like we don't know these Kirk Cousins movies be happening all the time. Shout out to Kirk. He won this week. He gonna get an inexplicable loss in like 3 weeks that nobody can explain to like a backup quarterback he'll lose to like the Bears or something like that inexplicably, right? So all I'm saying is, look, as a Browns fan, I know mediocre quarterbacks. And I know what ain't changed. And Jared Goff, the same dude that y'all was mad at in LA, he just got new colors around him, and y'all feel a little bit better about the situation. But that's still Jared Goff. And when he went up against Lamar Jackson, it mattered. By the way, Lamar Jackson, he probably getting that second MVP this year. I'm just saying, he balling. His one bet, even that Pittsburgh game, they catch them passes, dog. Like, it's a whole different story. But he been balling. Shout out to him. But I told y'all, don't bet on no Matt Stafford. Don't bet on no Jared Goff. Couldn't believe that. Now, y'all explain y'all Jared Goff support. Do you rescind your fandom in the Jared Goff fan club?
The craziest thing for me, bro, is I literally was saying everything that you were saying, Q, before the season, because for some reason there's a bunch of Bengals fans that were lying believers, and I was like, dog, it's Jared Goff. And then they got off to the 5-1 start, bro, and I felt like I had
You get carried away. You're like, yeah, it's about to change. He looking good. He ain't look this good since he went to the Super Bowl.
Jared Goff. Now, I feel like they could have lost the game, right? But what happened on Sunday was just like the Lions didn't even deserve to be on the same field. Because the funny thing is, Q, I actually played back our episode for my wife. And so my wife was listening. She was like, hold on, you was hating on us? You didn't believe in us? This and that. I'm like, okay. Then that happened. And then she looked at me like, yeah, I told you not to believe in us like that.
Look, man. Look, it happens to the best of us. We get carried away. We join these hives during the season. We thinking things going to change. We believe in the Cinderella story. But what happened to Cinderella? Cinderella always turned
Gotta
into a
hold
pumpkin.
out till midnight. See, it was like 11:50, and I was like, I don't know, dog. I think Jared.
Look, let me tell you, clock struck midnight on Jared Goff Wednesday of that week. That's how bad of a game that was. The brother didn't even have good practices coming into that. That game, look, that game got out of hand faster than the Browns Steelers playoff game. And that was assisted by like 3 of the most egregious turnovers you've ever seen in your life. This was just like pure ass whoop.
Yeah, when it was like 21-0 and Sonny was like, it's still early. I'm like, stop being
Sonny trip out like Sonny trying not to blow it. But look, by the way, if you're looking for somebody to blame, look, Guru, this your first time on the show. I don't think you knew what you was doing when you predicted the booty beatdown, man. You done by doing that. You can't do that. You can't do that.
I'm not out on the Ravens still. I'm still not impressed. And I think Dan Campbell, he just needs to just have a new motivational speech pregame, man. Listen, the Detroit Lions, I'm still rocking with them, okay? I don't think this happens if they play tomorrow.
The ankle biter bet the ankle breaker. That's what happened. Okay.
The thing with Detroit. Well, let me go to some super chats and then we'll jump into the Ravens game. Kagan says Myles Garrett is the greatest athlete in the NFL. We'll talk about that game because Myles Garrett took over that game. Jokic cooking my Lakers, man. MVP Lamar back also.
He cooking everybody, man. He cooking everybody. We not too far away though. We
looking for the whiz. Give me the whiz.
Hey man, look, Ace. I've seen Anthony Davis's face when Jokic be on him. Yeah. Y'all not getting past him anytime soon, bro. He want nothing to do with that big dog.
Well, Anthony Davis does not want to do with anybody Jokic size, right? That's not his life.
It ain't even that. He be trying. He be trying his life off. He be former defensive player of the year for real against Jokic. It just don't be doing nothing. Like, that's what happens.
But it's the same when he faces Embiid and some of the other.
Bro, just hit that step back on you out of nowhere. Like,
oh, yeah.
It's different, though, because, like, you could explain to yourself why Embiid got 40. It's real hard to explain how this Jokic thing be happening because it don't be looking spectacular when it happens.
You see Jokic lift that leg up? You see him lift that knee up, dog? You already know.
It's a wrap. No, you ever play basketball against your father? He could hoop a little bit. That's what it's like when you play Jokic. Like it's like being an 8-year-old trying to hoop against your dad. He get all kind of elbows, turns in. It's crazy.
Ray Rack here says multiple reports I seen has said that Watson didn't believe his shoulder was ready yet, but Kevin and AVP wanted him to play, but apparently it was a mutual agreement between them for him to play.
Yeah, either he plays or he doesn't, man. Like after this week, either he playing or he's not for the rest of the season, but I'm tired of it. Like either he's in for the year or he's not. I'm not about to do this with him all year.
And Q, you on the ground in this situation. There was a Schefter report about when they were saying the 4 to 6 weeks, is that from now or is that like as the season goes on that he has to get that strength back in his shoulder?
I'll have to have a conversation with you off air, but I don't think the time frame matters.
Okay, got you. I got you.
Yeah, what it sounds to me is more as 4 to 6 weeks from now.
No. 4 to 6 weeks from when he got it.
Oh,
but
that's the way that I took it is because they said that it's kind of like a baseball injury. It normally causes pitchers to miss 4 to 6 weeks. So I'm thinking it's kind of like how Burrow was not himself until a certain amount of games. I'm feeling like it could be the same kind of thing.
I mean, 4 weeks from when he got it, that would have been next week.
4 weeks would have been against the Colts. They had the bye week, remember?
You want to be extremely precautious with that, man. Because what you don't want is the Tommy John.
Okay, John Moore.
That's the Big Ben. What was that joke that Tony used to make? It's not Tommy John. Was it ever really Tommy John with Big Ben, or was he just joking?
Oh, yeah, no. He got Tommy John.
No, it was some kind of elbow surgery.
But they call it something else.
Okay.
But essentially, it was Tommy John. Like,
Oh,
if you
really?
know what it was.
Tommy John? Because
Yeah.
I know Tony used to like that was like a running joke on the show.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not Tommy John.
John Moore here says, shout out to Guru. By the way, I explained to Guru why. We'll talk about it soon. Codex here, to be fair to Guru, he did correctly predict a BBB. Fair enough. But this is, by the way, Q talk about this because I know Q is the one that has been the most proponent on all this. But the big booty beatdown, if you predict it because you're trying to jinx the other team, it will reverse jinx to you. It's all a thing. You can go back years, right? Like we have beta now. This is why we all tiptoe
We have
around these.
advanced analytics on our
Yeah.
superstition.
But technically,
Look, and
it didn't happen to the Steelers. So did he reverse jinx the Lions?
Yeah, because he wanted.
Yeah,
us
he
to
was
lose.
popping for the Lions. He said it was going to be 41-14 for the Lions, and he ended up accidentally reversing
BBD the
yeah,
Lions.
yeah, he got
So
him.
it can either happen two ways, Guru. It can happen to the team that you're saying is going to beat down the other team, or it can happen to your team. Like you say, some team is going to get beat up, and then your team ends up.
You suggest that a team should trade T. Higgins and he has the best game of his life.
That happens. That happens. That happens.
Look, I ain't never suggested they traded George Pickens before a Browns game. That's crazy. No, I'm not trying to get 300 put on me.
And probably was against us too.
Mhm.
Ray Rack here says, "Hey, it's not saying that the Bengals can do it, but it's going to be a tough road the rest of the season with the schedule they have, and having all three losses being AFC losses will be hard to come back from."
Do we remember this time last year? Wasn't there a whole similar situation? Oh, the Bengals, that back of the schedule is tough. And then 10 wins later, were we still talking about that?
Aren't you guys playing San Fran next week, right?
Yep, we're playing.
Looks like a
San
good
Fran
week.
next week.
Looks like a good week to play them. They're wounded.
That was crazy. I still can't
Might
believe
not
they
be
lost
weak
to the
to play them, dog. They just lost to Kirk
I'm not
Cousins
gonna
and
hold
PJ.
you. I can't believe they lost to the Vikings. That was
Sure,
Jordan
sure.
Addison.
That's one of them losses. If they take before me, I don't feel good for the next week if I play them because it's like they lost to PJ and they lost to Kirk Cousins. They gonna get a bounce back like sooner than later. Like PJ and Kirk, you got Kirk O'Chains and PJ back to back weeks. Like that's not. They're not about to be 5-3.
Cosmic here says Myles Garrett for OPY. Okay, with that, let's talk about the Ravens. And the Ravens was supposed to be the main game, right? The Lions, Raven, 5-1, 4-2. A lot of people are saying that's one of the best games of the week, best game in the 1:00 schedule. In the second quarter, the game was over. In the second quarter, they started going on fourth down. This Ravens team was just like, it's rare that I don't have criticism for them, but other than the mishandle of the snap, not the exchange would produce a fumble. Man, Lamar was on point. The play calling. Look, so 2 years ago I said why we don't roll to the right or left, but right because Lamar that's his throwing motion where it comes from. Right, he's a righty. We fake like a running with him and then leak a tight end. They did that with Andrews. They do that now and then. Say Flower was good. We have Bateman having a couple receptions. OBJ. I mean, everybody came to the party. The other thing, the O line was great. Like this game, if you say, Sonny, what was because one of these games that you can't find a lot of things from, but what were you most impressed with? Lamar and all that, the O line, right? The Detroit Lions D line came very high. Not only that, the Detroit Lions were first in the league against the rushing, and we were able to push the ball running. We were pushing the line. Lamar had time for the most part. And then my D line was eating against a Lions offensive line that was really good. And my D line was a section that I had criticized a lot, but the D line was great. Maravike, another great game by Maravike, Q's boy. It was just a complete performance, like from start to end. Again, by the second quarter, the game was over. I said to my wife, like, it's rare that I have a game like this that I can just chill and just watch. Like I'm here just vibing. Like, I'm usually stressed, and to be fair, Guru, I thought of you. I'm like, thank God for Guru, because I'm sure this is the only way we're winning by this much. It's the
Thank
only
God
way
for
we're
those
winning.
things.
Yeah, yeah. Because I predicted we were gonna win. I think by 4. I thought it was gonna be tight. I thought it was gonna be maybe a field goal game.
I ain't never been more confident that was gonna be an ass whooping than anything in my life.
Well,
Like
to
I
be
was
fair,
like, dog, ain't no way that like people are too high on the Lions right now for them to go in there and play well against Baltimore. Like, nah, we about to get this reset going.
well, and then the Lions have a cupcake schedule going forward, so they're gonna be tough
Oh
on
no!
their.
Hey, look! Well, your quarterback Jared Goff, man, I don't care. Like Kirk Cousins is not no cupcake to you, okay? Like, nah, dog. Like Kirk Cousins is a tough matchup for you. Like, ain't no cupcake for them. They ain't good enough to have no cupcake.
Jared Goff turned to Jared Goof in this game.
No, he turned into Jared Goff. He was something else before. Like when we talk about when Ace sent me the DM in the group chat of Jared Goff and Matt Stafford being top 2 on PFF, I was like, oh yes, yeah, I'm about to be right.
Yeah.
I'm about to be right. Ain't no way that's actually true. That's crazy. That's crazy. They're coming back to earth.
They were. I'm trying to. Oh man, I'm trying to because you said I've never been more confident or something like that. You said PFF, not a serious organization, and you said you were never more confident that the Ravens.
They looked themselves in the face and said, "You know who are the best 2 quarterbacks in the NFL right now? Jared Goff and Matt Stafford," and just published that. That's crazy. Their charts are good and everything else on Pro Football Focus, but no grades, dog. They don't be looking at who they giving these grades to sometimes. I just be like, come on, man, think about that. Think about that before you hit send. You know what I mean? You got to think about that one.
Well, because it's subjective, right? It's not based on the data. It's subjective. They're watching the game and all that. Anyway, great performance by the Ravens. They took care. Now they're moving to Arizona up to the West Coast. It's crazy how many road games we have this year so far. But anyway, good win. Q, so you can add to your victory lap. What do you thought about this game?
What Juju you say about the Browns back at the Jared Goff is Jared Goff? The Lions is the Lions. Yeah, it is what it is. You know what I mean? No, I think the Ravens, they have been one of these teams where like either everything clicks or things are like slightly out of sync for them, and it just makes everything look a lot worse than it is. And I think if you look at some of the 2 losses that the Ravens have this year, do they have 2? It's the Pittsburgh game. Okay, yeah. You look at their 2 losses, it's more of that. It's like, oh, okay, we're making the right reads, we're making the right plays, we're not catching the ball. It's usually like one thing not going right for the Baltimore Ravens. In the game against Indy, it was just the weather wasn't going right. They weren't able to execute their offense the way that they were. And then for whatever reason, look, Gardner Minshew, he the most terrible, decent quarterback I've ever seen in my life. I'll talk about that later. But he gets some production sometimes, right? And that just happens to you. But this was one game where everything clicked well for the Ravens offense. The defense fed off that energy. And you know, shout out to Roquan Smith. I know somebody was already going to say he's Pro Football Focus's #1 rated linebacker. But Pro Football Focus grades ain't what we was ever arguing about with Roquan Smith. It's about actual impact on the field. But, you know, he's still not a bad linebacker. He's a really good one. I don't think he's elite, though. But I'll stand on that hill until he make me get off that hill, like Lamar did in 2019. So, I think Lamar's been playing his best football. I mean, like from the pocket, was he like 21 to 27, 4 touchdowns almost? Just incredible. He's had a couple games like this. Like I was watching that game back, the film of him versus Cleveland. I'm like, damn, man, like some of the throws that he is hitting in structure on time. It is terrifying. Like his game is aging well. And anybody who bet against his game aging well, not a good bet. Not a good bet. His game's gonna age well. It's aging a lot better than who I get to watch on Sundays. I'll tell you that. So Yeah, he is looking like every bit of what people thought he could be. And this is why you get rid of Greg Roman, because you felt like you could have gotten more out of Lamar as a passer the last few years, but you didn't allow him to grow in that way because the passing offense with Greg Roman was just so limited. Now that he's playing with a little bit more of a complex route tree, complex route combinations, he's able to see the field, he's able to deliver the ball well, and he is every bit as terrifying as we imagine. If we're like, hey, what happens if Lamar figures this thing out from the pocket? The question is like, hey, man, did he always have this figured out? Like, could we have been here 2 years ago if you're the Baltimore Ravens? Like, I guess that's one of the questions you can ask, because it felt like they blew their window. But if Lamar's playing like this, your window's wide open.
Guru.
Yeah, shout out to the chat, man. Listen, you guys are great. I'm a big boy. I can take it. So don't shy away. We do appreciate the banter. Going into the game, I just didn't think the Baltimore Ravens were legit. I didn't think the Baltimore Ravens offense and defense was going to be able to click with a team that before this game had four more wins of 14 or more points. Sonny, you talked about the strengths of the Detroit Lions stopping a run. You look at it, how Jared Goff was staying on schedule, how he was, playing in rhythm, how Ben Johnson was getting creative. You go to Baltimore and you just literally piss down your leg. I mean, at every level. I mean, from the start of the game, the Ravens had momentum. It looked like Dan Campbell just never could get a feel or catch up with Harbaugh. I thought one of the keys to the games that the Detroit Lions significantly didn't do was exploit the secondary. They didn't get enough time of possession. I think it was at one point like 23-6. I think they had one first down in the first half. I mean, the game got out of hand early, and the Baltimore Ravens showed everybody that this is why they paid Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, completion percentage, he's going through his reads, improvising, just being patient, eyes downfield, ability to extend the play, ability to audible and check out blitzes and make Detroit pay time in and time out and still be able to use his legs to keep the defense honest. Cute, I'm not going to go as far as MVP, but by far, the best that I've seen Lamar Jackson play. You look at the Baltimore Ravens, they're a team that's looking like they might be getting their mojo. They look like a team that might not have to rely on Justin Tucker as much. And also, once you get the pass rush, healthier, maybe you don't have to send more. You can protect the secondary playing zone. I know you had a couple of veterans like Marcus Williams out, but I was absolutely wrong. The Detroit Lions, they need to start playing the music we were playing in the space in the chat on Friday. Some Peasy, some 42 Doug. Because Baltimore played a lot of music. YB Escola, a little bit of probably President Davo, man. Rest in peace to that young goat. But I'm very, very impressed with Baltimore, and I'll never ever say a team, unless it's the Steelers, 40-14, man.
Ace.
Yeah, I think for me, Baltimore went out and won against a really good team. One of the things that I said during the show was we kind of nitpicked and picked apart Detroit's schedule, and I said, well, what about the Ravens, right? Because at that point, I hadn't thought that they had beat a good team. With the Lions, they beat the shit out of a good team, for lack of a better word. They beat them mercilessly, and they did everything that you wanted to see. I will say that even though I agree with Guru, like I wouldn't say Lamar is having an MVP season. That was an MVP type performance that he put on and a show that he put on in that game. And I think that's what people for the Ravens kind of expected when they started with this new offense. I think you got some of that. The other guy that I don't think is being talked about enough from this game outside of Lamar Jackson, Gus Edwards. I haven't really talked much about it. You guys know I'm not high on Gus Edwards. What's funny is you guys think I hate him, but he was on my fantasy team starting this past weekend. But Gus Edwards was a big factor in this game because that was a Lions defense that statistically was tough against the run. Gus Edwards was able to do some things against them. So Gus Edwards definitely had a good game in that game. But I will say one thing that I learned from my Lions take is I switched on thinking that the Lions were a legit team. I think the Ravens are a legit team, but I still think that they could be possibly inconsistent. But we'll see as the season rolls on. But I think them winning at home in this fashion was much needed. And I think it sends a statement to the rest of the league and the rest of the AFC that this Ravens team is legit.
To finish off, let me give a couple shout outs. Geno Stone. When Marcus Williams went out, I said, like, Geno played well last year. I think he can pick it up. He's leading the league in interceptions. I already said O-line, D-line. Gus Edwards played great. Another guy that we talk about in this pod, but I think he's definitely surprised or exceeded my expectations at least. But let me also say Roquan has changed the defense dynamic for us. Since Roquan came to the Ravens, statistically they're the best defense in the league from last year to now since he came. But the problem that the Ravens defense have, different from Pittsburgh or Cleveland, they're not super flashy, right? We don't have the big time pass rusher. We lack some of the flashiness. But what the Ravens do is they don't allow points. They're leading the league in points per game, meaning they scored the least amount of points against this Ravens team. The team is playing great on defense, and if the offense starts clicking, they're going to be a problem. They're going to be and to finish it up also, Ace, you said that they're not consistent, and my argument will be right now, what team is? We don't have any team in the National Football League they're going to say, like, right now, that team is fire. We thought San Francisco, well, not San Francisco, Philadelphia's not looking great or untouchable. Like there's been years that I
beat the Dolphins though.
Yeah, but the Dolphins lost to who was it a couple of weeks before that? It's not like the Dolphins are untouchable either. Like right now, I cannot see it in the league. Like there's been years that you see a league. Well, the Eagles last year, right? There's years in the league. They're like, man, that team, like right now, nobody touches them. There's not right now.
I mean, Kansas City Chiefs. I'd say Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles.
I'm not saying that they're not good teams. I'm just saying there's no untouchable teams. They're like super consistent. You think the Kansas City Chiefs are untouchable?
Would you say no? Let me put this back on you. Would you say that the Ravens are in the same class as the Philadelphia Eagles right now?
Yeah. If you say the Eagles last year, no. The Eagles this year, yeah.
If Baltimore played Kansas City, it really wouldn't be hard for me to choose Kansas City.
It wouldn't.
I don't think it would. It's not really.
6-1, Sonny. They've only lost one game. Like we talk like the Eagles are this beatable team. They've lost one game.
Okay. The Ravens lost two.
Yeah. And Jalen Hurts been playing like low key kind of trash too.
And Jalen Hurts has been playing trash, and they are still 6-1.
Okay,
That's crazy.
I mean, it's the NFC, but it's crazy. Yeah,
you could argue that the Kansas City Chiefs finally showed up on offense this last game. Before that, we haven't seen them, and they've only lost one game.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. All I'm saying is none of these teams to me look like, oh my God, nobody can beat this team. Like none of these teams, like if the Ravens play them right now, should the Ravens be favored? Maybe not, but would I be like, there's no chance we can win? No, I wouldn't. And not only the Ravens, there's other teams that I would be like, no, that team has a chance. So,
well, what I'll say is this: we talked about the Kansas City Chiefs on the last one because I put a lot of stock into the Lions game, right? What did Q say to me when I said that they lost to the Chiefs? They didn't have Travis Kelce, and they didn't have Chris Jones.
Yep.
Ever since they've had those guys back, they have not lost a game.
Fair. Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. As the year goes, if they keep playing like they played the other night, then yeah.
That defense is good, and Pat Mahomes is back to being Pat Mahomes. I'm just saying, like, that's not a regular team. Like, they're really good. Like, I don't know, but it's a little bit early to put Baltimore up there. But if they stack together like 3 more weeks of games like this, then yeah, we can start putting Baltimore in that conversation.
If I'm being fair, if you want to know where I see Baltimore at, I would put them over the Dolphins right now because I think, like you're saying, the Dolphins aren't consistent. I think I put them in the same tier as maybe. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Jacksonville right now. Jacksonville's looking pretty good at 5-2. So I would probably put the Chiefs, and then I'm putting the Ravens and Jacksonville underneath them.
Okay. The Marcus here says 6-time championship lounge. Guru, let him know Lamar 1-3 versus the Steelers with 4 TDs, 7 picks, 66 QBR, 7 fumbles, 20 sacks. Let him know. Let me know that Sean Watson's 0-3 versus Pittsburgh. Let me know Joseph Tyne coming. What? There's no Bengal stats there.
No. This dude is a Steelers fan. This dude is a Steelers fan. He actually.
I know that.
He's been an AFC North Talk alum, but he's talking to Guru because they got the 6-time champs lounge.
No, I know. But I'm just saying he's cherry picking not the Bengals. I don't know what the record is of Joe Burrow against the Steelers, right? I don't know it. I'm just saying it was left behind.
We've won one time, I think.
Are we going to do the cherry picking one where it's just Lamar versus the Bengals, or are we going to do the actual Bengals versus Ravens record?
No. I literally said that the guy didn't put the Steelers against the Bengals. I didn't say nothing about Ravens and Bengals. I'm just saying he put he put Watson, he put Lamar, but he didn't put anything about Burrow against the Steelers. That's all I'm saying, Ace. Nothing against us.
By the way, he ain't put the Browns home games, them games in Cleveland on that one either. That's an interesting leave out. But
I thought he was going to ask you, is Deshaun Watson won back-to-back games since 2019, but he was being nice to you.
Yeah, technically he won back-to-back starts. He won his start in week 3 where he started against Tennessee. He won this game. He started. It's back-to-back starts against the Colts and the Titans.
Sorry, okay, I see what you're saying.
Question. Those are that's
factual. That's
factual. W's on his record.
That's factual.
You can argue if it should be all you want. That'll just tell you what's on the record book.
Hey Q, like the new podcast with Cole, part of your Steel Toe Crew game.
Steel Toe Crew? Oh, okay, yeah. I'm talking about the workers. Okay, yep. I was like, is this Pittsburgh related? I got my antennas up there in AFC North Talk for anything still related.
E-Rock here says the Ravens will let you down. Don't buy in. The Heat, man. Professor Chaos here says, Q, you should wear a heart rate tracker during the game. You don't want to do that.
No, I do. I got my Apple Watch on during the game. You know what? I keep a cool 60. A cool 60. Look, I don't know why y'all act like this is the first team that's ever stressed me out. I'm a Browns fan, dog. Like what your stress is normal to me. Okay.
Anime Tree here says compromise. TJ wins Defensive Player of the Year. Garrett wins MVP. By the way, I enjoy your tweet to Q.
This is the guy that just said trade Garrett.
He did.
Yeah, he told us to trade Myles Garrett, which, by the way, thank you for that. Thank you for I need Guru. By the way, before the Browns play the Steelers again, can you suggest that the Browns should trade Myles Garrett because we need another performance like that? Shout out to Anime Tree, man.
Listen, the next time we play the Browns, I hope TJ Watt doesn't have an embarrassment of Myles Garrett's ability. Every time he plays Myles Garrett, he embarrasses him.
Yeah, we'll win that game by like 14. I'm pretty sure of it. In Cleveland? Yeah, we'll win that 14.
Can't wait.
I'm not really a threat in Cleveland anymore. It's been a while. When the last time y'all won in Cleveland?
I don't know.
It's been years. Damn. I think Joe Burrow has won against the Browns more recently. It's crazy.
Okay, with that being said, Q, can you let us know about our sponsor?
Absolutely. Let me get it pulled up here for everybody. But attention, all sports enthusiasts and ball game aficionados. It's that magical time of the year where football's in full swing, basketball's back, and the baseball playoffs are here for all you dorks. Have us on the edge of our seats. But speaking of ball games, it's time to talk about the champion of the grooming game. That's right. Manscaped has just launched the Performance Package 5.0 ultra. It's like having the sixth man on your it's like having the sixth man on your team, ensuring you stay smooth no matter what sport you're into. So don't strike out with this offer. Head over to Manscaped, use promo code AFCNT to get 20% off and free shipping. Trust us, with the Performance Package 5.0, you'll be the MVP both on and off the field. When it comes to sports, it's important to know ball, and Manscaped sure knows balls. So at the peak of the ball season, we're introducing our new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, which takes your grooming precision to a whole new level. The Lawnmower 5.0 uses 2 enhanced skin-safe blades. First, ahead with a upgraded trimmer to get your grass in playing condition, and then a dual foil blade head for top-notch smoothness. We all know football is a game of inches, but Manscaped knows that grooming is a game of millimeters. With advanced grooming tools like the Manscaped Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, you can tackle any hairy situation and come out on top like an MVP. Also included in this bundle, made for your balls, features the new Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer, crop preserver ball deodorant, crop soother toner, and 2 free gifts. With all that in the bag, with all that and a ballpark of chips, there's no reason you can't put your game face on and give it a go. Playoffs are no joke, neither is this. Make the right call with Manscaped. Get 20% off now with free shipping when you use the promo code AFCNT, again, at manscaped.com. That's 20% off free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the promo code AFCNT. We got balls and beard trimmers, but mostly balls.
Big shout out to Adam Holland, Dum Gasula, Luis Cousin, Leo Sell, Ray Rack, Wesley Worrell, and Christian Robb for being the top tier of the Patreon. By the way, we're going to be planning to do a Patreon video about the trade deadline as it's approaching to see what upgrades can each team has. Look, we'll
Hey Guru, by the way, I want to ask you a question. Do you know how we got to make sure we have these early request-ins for a few weeks? I'm getting a call from Cleveland. They want to know, do you want PJ, DTR, or Deshaun to serve you up this L in Cleveland?
I was actually hoping for you to go ahead and call Deshaun Kaiser, because
Deshaun Kaiser. We can make that happen.
Yeah,
we can do that. We can beat you with Deshaun Kaiser. We might get that one. He never got to win as a Brown. Yeah, it might be time. We could do it with Deshaun Kaiser. You'll be
putting him on IR real soon, so you got to activate a quarterback.
Hey, we could bring back Kobe. He tapped that ass before.
By the way, Kaiser never won with Cleveland.
You said what?
Kaiser never won?
No, he went 0-16.
Oh, he was the
he was. And then he got traded to Green Bay. I don't think that man's ever won a start in his life. Well, in the NFL, a professional start. I think he's winless.
Damn.
Let me look that up. Y'all talk while I look that up. But
okay, well, let's segue here to the next one. The Steelers. Steelers went to LA. All 4 of us predicted that the Steelers were going to win. So I was not surprised that they won. It was a competitive game. I will tell you this. This is the thing with the Steelers. Obviously, the defense. We talk about how the defense is very opportunistic. TJ Watt back in coverage, make the pick, all great, right? Pressure through to Stafford. It was good. It was a very good performance by the defense, right? We expected the defense, but the offense. What I think happened, if you know how you say, if you let a team hang around, they'll find a way to beat you. That's what the Steelers do. Steelers for 3 quarters are, vibing. I feel like the offense is vibing. They play better. Don't get me wrong. They play better offensively throughout the game than the first couple of weeks. But they're like in this chill mode, vibing throughout the game, like, hanging around. And it's like in the 4th quarter, like, you know what? We're still in this game. Let's just play, right? And they play. And in the offense, and Guru, I actually very curious to see what do you thought how this offense completely played. Warren with a touchdown, Najee with a touchdown. So the running game show up a little bit more in this game. Kenny Pickett and I said this, like, if there's a possibility that you can run the ball, I think that's where Kenny Pickett then can just play action and be a little bit more comfortable. Also slow down that pass rusher against him, because the O-line still trying to develop to the O-line that the Steelers are hoping it can be. But what do you think about the performance? They went in and they beat a team. I'm down on the Rams, but the league thought, this Rams team, or maybe the league was just down on the Steelers. But what was your or what do you thought about the performance they show on Sunday?
Yeah, man. So the Rams were a 3-point favorite, and the Steelers, they struggled historically going on the West Coast. First time winning in LA, I think since like 1991. But the Steelers' offense clicked in the fourth quarter. They're 195 yards in the fourth quarter alone.
Mm-hmm.
First time this season, not just rushing, scoring 3 or more touchdowns in a game. And Kenny Pickett, I mean, you can say whatever you want about the double gloves. You can say whatever you want about the mullet. The kid was 9 for 9 in the fourth quarter. Didn't or nine not 9 for 19 for 19. Just something impeccable. You statisticians in the chat can find out. But just know that the kid was just dynamic, made big time throws, and he seemed like he was understanding what needs to happen for this offense to get some mojo. The running game started to get going. You saw Najee, you saw Jalen Warren finally look fresh, but the trenches were righteous. Mason Cole against Aaron Donald, 0 pressure, 0 sacks allowed. Isaac Seumalo, Aaron Donald got the best of him one play, and then he just turned into the Isaac Seumalo that the Steelers invested for a multi-year deal in free agency. Plowed holes. Dan Moore Jr., career day. A lot of Steelers fans wanted Broderick Jones to play. Dan Moore Jr., career day, highest PFF grades, pressures and sacks allowed. I think that the Steelers showed you with Deontay Johnson coming back, and then with George Pickens. I mean, George Pickens right now, he's just been unbelievable. Top 3 in YAC. You look at his route win rate, his ability in terms of drops. I think he had a second drop of the season last week, but back-to-back 100-yard games, first time in his career. The Steelers defense, I mean, it's TJ Watt. I mean, I know how you guys want to just continue the banter. You saw Nick Bosa last night. This is what happens when you really invest in a player. You get in 6 games, 8 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 interception, 1 defensive touchdown. No player's ever done that in their first 6 games in NFL history. He's a guy, him and Lawrence Taylor, I believe have 70 sacks or 60 sacks and 7 or more interceptions only in their career. But how about Mika Fitzpatrick? How about Keanu Benson, DeMarvin Leal coming back from a concussion? How about Nick Herbert getting his first career sack and a big tackle for loss? The Steelers are showing you that they have pieces when they're fresh after a bye week. They get Jacksonville this week, but the offense, I was happy. You saw Matt Canada tweaking the schematics. You saw Dan Moore Jr. from a tackle position he was pulling. You saw him run a nice play action scheme to Connor Hayward. He made it easier for Kenny. Now, Kenny did make some big time throws. That whip route, that's a big time throw to Deontay Johnson for the yak. That's a big time throw to the other hash of the field to Deontay Johnson on the out route. And then, like I said, his ability for him and George Pickens to have that chemistry at this point in his career, it's just really refreshing. The kid was the highest rated quarterback, and it's another game-winning drive. It's another fourth quarter comeback. That's an intangible that you can build off of. How do you fix that in the first through 3 quarters? Well, you got to be able to stay on schedule. You can't penalize yourself. You got to get first downs. And most of all, the offensive line has to start playing at that level that they played in the second half. I think Pam Oliver asked Mike Tomlin a question about what's been the issue. They didn't account for the pressures from Raheem Morris. They were blitzing from the nickel, the outside. I think his name was Herkich, the outside linebacker for the Rams. He had a day early, and they were able to adjust. So this is something you build off of. Second highest point total in the Matt Canada era. Still doesn't have a 400-yard game. But to have 195 yards in 1 quarter has to be promising for a team who's been one of the worst in the National Football League in pretty much every major offensive category.
Q.
Yeah, I thought this was a good game for Kenny Pickett. Again, he's not a completely terrible quarterback, so he's going to have a couple good games throughout the course of the season. And it was really good for him to have Deontay Johnson back and George Pickens. Both had tremendous days with 10 receptions and more yards than Odell Beckham. No, I'm just
Of course. It's okay. I don't care what Odell gets, right? I really don't.
Hey, shout out to the homie Allen Robinson. 7 yards, breakout season somebody was predicting for him, which, I remember y'all saying that. Shout out to the homie Allen Robinson, 7 yards, doing your thing, boy, getting them yards in. But yeah, I think this was a good game for Kenny. Real nice poise on the end of the drive. Obviously, people are going to focus on the end of that play, the end of that game where, it was a bad spot, but hey, you don't got timeouts. You can't challenge it. It is what it is. Can't be mad at the game. You got to play it right. Everything else, yeah, TJ Watt pretty good there. Larry Ogunjobi, man, like that. Larry Ogunjobi and Alex Highsmith have been really good this year, but Ogunjobi especially, like he has had some crazy games this year with Cam Hayward being out. And shout out to him, former Brown. It seems like he figured out his run defense problems too. Yeah. So good on him, because that was his big issue in Cleveland and in Cincinnati. So good on him. We still wondering when he's gonna finally play for the Ravens, because he's got to complete the gauntlet.
Yeah, AFC North Talk. Yeah.
He's got till he's 30. You know what I mean? Then the Ravens go want him. So so it's looking good for that agenda there. What Puka had somebody. How did he have 8 receptions, 154 yards? Was it all coverage bust?
Nah, it's just Levi Wallace being one of the worst corners in the National Football League, and Sean McVay saying every time he's out there, Paca, I want you to feel good about yourself and do I'm living my life like it's golden. That's what he was doing the whole game.
Crazy. That's great. Like to hold Cooper Kupp to 2 yards, 2 receptions, 29 yards, but Puka went off for 154 is crazy. But they're able to get away with it. Matt Stafford is who Matt Stafford is, even though he wasn't that terrible. 1 interception, 2 sacks in this game. But yeah, I think Kenny played well. And if Kenny plays well, is good as this defense is, you're going to have a chance to win any game that you go into if you're Pittsburgh. And this was most certainly a game I felt like people were taking them out of for no reason. Like the Rams and the Steelers are not that different of teams. Like they both have similar issues, especially on the offensive side of the ball, but Pittsburgh does have a better defense.
Ace.
Yeah, and this one team that I didn't bet against was the Steelers. Going back to Mike Tomlin's record, coming off of a bye, this was a team that had a couple weeks to get ready for this game. This was a team that needed to win this game, especially against a team like the Rams, where they were a team that kind of was better than most people expected, right? We kind of talked about them getting Cooper Kupp back, Puka, who's obviously still doing his thing at the 154 yards, but they were still able to get out of this with the victory. And the one thing that's impressive about the Steelers team is they somehow, no matter what the game is, find a way to force a turnover. They get another one in this one with Matthew Stafford. And I keep saying, they can't just keep living off of these turnovers, but they're showing that they're able to do it. And so I think that the Steelers, this was a big win for them. I think that they're finally learning the best way with the Najee Harris situation is to kind of run both of those guys in Warren and Najee instead of trying to pick one or the other. Deontay Johnson comes back in this one, ends up having a pretty solid game. They've missed that. But the guy that I said was the alpha dog continues to have a good season, with George Pickens having the 5 receptions for 107 yards. So it's going to be interesting for them, because now they have 2 options at receiver for Kenny Pickett. Does that mean that the Pittsburgh offense is going to get better? Is the Matt Canada offense going to get better? I mean, I don't think it can get worse because it's Matt Canada. But maybe Deontay gives them another option to actually have across from George Pickens, which is huge now that Muth is going to be out for the foreseeable future. The only other thing, I haven't seen much, which not too surprised, but I thought that we would see more from Darnell Washington, man, especially with this tight end out. I'm not saying that Darnell Washington's supposed to have this crazy game, but I haven't seen this guy registering like a catch And for that pick, I thought he was huge for them. Obviously, his hallmark is blocking, but he's not really giving you that much in that aspect of the game. So I'd like to see what we can get from Darnell, and that's really just being picky on it. They were able to do what they needed to do, which was go to LA and get a win. So that was a good win for them because the schedules in this division with teams that are upcoming for all of the teams, these are going to be the games that you cannot drop. So Steelers were able to do that and take care of business and come out of there with a win, which I kind of expected them to do.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers, we talk about the last team that I can remember being this streaky on defense with picks. I remember the Saints team that went to the Super Bowl. They beat the Colts, right? That they were a defense that were very streaky. People were like, they're not that good, but they always produce turnovers, right? And they found ways. The Steelers, if they don't produce turnovers, they might have a long game, but that's not usually the case, or it hasn't been the case so far in the year. I think they had like a game or two, maybe. So, hey, it was a good win. Road wins, they're not easy, especially when you go to the West Coast. Okay, Noah Stone told y'all LJ going for second MVP, best QB in the North.
Hey man, Nova Stone, we ain't heard you talk about Brock Purdy in a minute. What's going on with that?
I know.
What happened with Brocky?
What's going on with Brock Purdy, man?
What happened with Brocky on Monday night?
Yeah, don't come here and talk about Lamar. No, they ain't your number one. We know who your number one is. Yeah.
You do want to switch to Lamar now. You call that man Steve Young.
He gives you the switcheroo.
Nah. We know he don't like Lamar like that. He be talking crazy about it. He was talking about Lamar could have thrown this summer. What's up with Brock Purdy, though? Like, we would love an update on your assessment of Brock Purdy because you was like, it's just one game last week. Well, now just 2 games in a row? It's crazy.
Shout out to Noah. So right here said that game showed why you can't waste timeouts that early. The Rams needed to challenge that spot on the 4th down. Don't know if it gets overturned, but you need to be able to challenge.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. That spot was crazy.
Hey, you can't let George Pickens get a crosser in the middle of the field in that situation too. Like,
no, I'm talking about the Kenny Pickett.
I know, but I'm like to get it to that point to where they can go for it on 4th and 1. You can't have like you were in like a 3rd and 13 at that point, right? Yeah. Like you can't even let it. Like that's like. I don't feel sympathy for him because I wasn't like, oh man, the ref screwed the Browns when we let Case Keenum get a 1st down on 4th and 1 when we let him run for 13. Like certain things you just can't let happen in those moments, and you open yourself up to these kind of situations when you do, and that's on the defense. Like you can't lose that kind of leverage in that kind of a situation, and you can't let it be up to the referees because anything can happen.
With that being said, though, that spot was wrong.
Yeah, that spot was wrong, though. But hey, that's the game, dog. Like,
and I'm not saying it's gonna change the outcome. It just was like, wow, like okay. Now, unless it was one of those things where sometimes what we see on TV isn't the actual line, which that could be it as well. But if it was
that was a bad spot. It was a bad spot. Everybody knew it, but it just is what it is. Like you can't even let it get to that point.
Okay, Jason Bradley here says Pickens playing like the number 1 wide receiver
a couple weeks
in
ago.
The North.
Why would Lamar Chase get in a car accident that I don't know of, man?
In the North.
Hey, Odell Beckham had something to say about that. He about to get 30 yards this week. Might get a touchdown.
I gotta agree with him.
You gonna agree, Guru? You gonna agree? Best receiver in the North?
George Pickens, his numbers don't lie. What is anybody else in the
all right, Guru.
Doing different.
Hold on.
Highest yards per reception.
556 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Highest yards per reception in NFL since week 2. George Pickens, 21.1. Thank you.
Most receptions in the NFL.
Guru, look me dead in the eye and tell me you would take Jamar. You wouldn't take Jamar Chase over George Pickens right now.
Well, I know I wouldn't take Donovan Peoples-Jones.
No, don't try to switch the conversation. Ain't nobody worried about no damn DPJ. He's not even the best receiver on the Browns. Like, answer the question about George Pickens or Jamar Chase. Which one you rather have on your team?
I'll take them both.
Okay.
That being said, let's talk about the one that had the pulse racing for most fans in the North. I'm watching this game. Well, I'm not really watching it live, but I'm following it, right? Because the Ravens are coasting, so I can see how the other teams are going.
Gardner Mitchell had 3 fumbles, like 4 turnovers in this game, dog. That's crazy.
Honestly, that was one of the most entertaining games of the weekend.
Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah, I bet it was for y'all.
Now, let me as a sidebar, I do look. One of the things that I hate the most is the roughing the passer when a tackler comes and swallows the quarterback. That I hate that. I hate that call. Hate it. Doesn't matter against who it is. I just hate it. Second one will be when somebody gets. I'm not even saying that this determined the game. By the way, somebody gets called on sportsman-like conduct because they're piecing them out as they're going by for a touch. Now, should he be smart enough? And we're talking about the guy from USC. I'm blanking his name. Pittman.
Michael Pittman.
Should he be doing that? No, he should be smarter than that. But NFL, really?
That's when I knew that was losing. They wasn't locked in.
Yeah. Well, when I saw that flag, I'm like, here comes the Browns. They're coming back.
Because the flag, they made the extra point. Like, it ended up not mattering. But that was not a locked in moment. That's not something you do when you know that there's like 2 minutes left in the game. That's something you do when you think it's just over with. So it's like, okay, that's how they feeling. All right.
But Pittman is frustrated too. I don't know if you saw the quote from Pittman. He's saying that they don't use him enough. That he's going through that. He's going through. I think he had only 2 receptions, and he said, "I'm just not being
41 yards of reception." I would understand his position.
Yeah, he's saying like, "I guess I'm not part of the game plan," which is crazy, right? Because he's a good receiver. Anyway, saying that Myles Garrett, even though Q predicted another Q prediction, Q said that our defense is probably not going to be as good, and this is going to be the week. And I was like, really, against Minshew? But again, I saw Minshew. Minshew plays better than people think. Saying that Myles Garrett wrecked that game, like Myles Garrett single-handedly. I mean, I know there was a drive.
Sonny, he had 8 stops. That's a season for some players. He had 8 stops in that game. Go ahead.
No, I would say plus directly he blocked the field goal. Let's assume the guy makes it. Plus the fumble in the end, so that ended up being 7, right? 10 points swing right there. Insane.
And then the other strip sack that led to another touchdown.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's like it's a crazy swing amount of points. I think it's like 20 or something like that he was indirectly responsible for because of the plays that he made. And look, Myles Garrett I said this in the offseason, and he looks to have taken a leap. And it's interesting because he's about the same age as TJ was when TJ had that 22 sack season or whatever it was, like the almost sack record season or the sack record tying season, however you guys want to categorize that. And Myles is starting to hit that age, where he is fully confident of his powers. He knows when to turn it on, when to turn it off. He knows when he's going to be needed. I mean, that block field goal, that should be impossible. Like, they legislated that out the game. And look, there's going to be a rule next year to say that you can't do that because nobody thought that anybody could just box jump over a whole offensive lineman. But that happened. And Myles was able to do it. And then he was there blocking it, like waiting for the block. It was one of the most incredible defensive individual efforts you'll ever see. I think nobody had done the stuff in that game in one game since they've been recording all of these stats. I know you mentioned Guru that TJ has 2 forced fumbles for the season. That's a good number. Myles had 2 forced fumbles in this game. It just was an insane performance from him. So, and I think he's at 3 or 4 this year with the forced fumbles. He always gets a lot of forced fumbles early.
That's the thing.
That strip sack move really is killer. But yeah, I mean, like, this has just been what it's been from Myles. This ain't the first time he done gone viral, right? Week 1, he goes viral for the basketball move against Cincinnati. Week 2, Not his best game, but he played well. You could look at the pass rush win stuff, but he would acknowledge he could have finished more of those plays. Week 3 against Tennessee, they put 2 tight ends on him because they can't do nothing about him. Only had 3.5 sacks in that game. And then against San Francisco, he throws around Trent Williams like we ain't never seen before. And then this week, one of the more dominant individual efforts you'll ever see from any football player. And you could debate all day about who's better, who's this and that. Just appreciate what you get to see, because this is crazy what Myles Garrett has done. I think he's really changing the game. I think you're going to see people do stuff that he's able to do because they didn't know it was possible before him. So just incredible player. Incredible individual effort. And that's what this game was for the Cleveland Browns. I thought it was a horrible game plan coming in from both the offensive and defensive side. I was like, why are we playing so much zone? Why are we in 13 personnel against the Colts? Like, you want to throw against them. If you're running against them, you're playing in their game. But for whatever reason, that was the game plan coming in, and it got bailed out by a couple of great individual efforts. Dustin Hopkins kicking out of his mind. I don't usually talk about kickers not named Justin Tucker.
That's
and
a good trade, right?
He's in that realm, but he's playing out of his mind. Had a long of 58, made a 53 and 50-yard field. This is a dude who was not known for making long field goals. That was his big Achilles heel. He's been perfect from 50 for the Cleveland Browns, accounted for 15 points. Just an incredible individual effort from him. Literally, if he misses one field goal, we lose.
Who you traded him for?
With a 7th round pick next year. So basically,
what team that he came from?
The Chargers.
The Chargers. Okay.
The Chargers. Shout out to the Chargers. You know what I mean? They're hilarious. I love them. Yeah, but it was a great individual effort by Myles Garrett. It was a great individual effort by Dustin Hopkins. And I want to point out, Elijah Moore made a couple plays down the stretch crucial to this team's victory.
He should have.
Yeah, in that cover 2, he had a 2-buster, caught it right in the window, and then got some yak after that. And he had a nice run too in that drive earlier. So he was pretty good in that game. He's starting to show us that he's going to be that number 2 option when Amari Cooper gets bracketed. They were able to find him. So very good game from him. But you had a horrible game from your corners and a horrible tackling game from everybody in the secondary in this team. And it almost cost you the game, right? A terrible tackle on Michael Pittman allows him to score. A boneheaded fall asleep play on a false start. I mean, not a false start, on a offsides that Myles got. Cost you a bust at the beginning of this game, loses an early 7-point lead. It was just not a good day for everybody but those 2 players. Denzel Ward as well. Denzel Ward was pretty good in this game. But that's why you have star players, right? So if your role players aren't playing well, you have the star players take over and win you a game like this. That's why you have Myles Garrett. And I'll say this about Myles. Look, in the absence of Nick Chubb, who was the franchise player for this team, the number 1 guy you talk about when you play the Cleveland Browns, at least on offense, and the most reliable person, with the absence of Nick Chubb and no franchise quarterback being there in Cleveland like we expected to, Myles Garrett's been the franchise. And that was a franchise performance right there from Myles Garrett. So can't speak highly enough of what he was able to do in that game. An incredible effort by him individually, and he was instrumental in this win, as well as Dustin Hopkins, as well as Elijah Moore. And give PJ Walker his credit, man. People are real critical of him because he ain't putting up great stat lines. And I'm not one to say, he won the game. But he did make a throw there that was critical to winning the game. He pulled that one out of his ass on 3rd and 9. Like, we're not even sitting here talking about the penalties if he doesn't make the throw. And I guess I'll address the penalties for people who want to complain about that or say that the Browns will get to this game. Look, the one penalty that was really changing was the penalty on the ball that looked like it might have been a fumble. But you held in the end zone on Amari Cooper. That's what happens when you have young corners. They make mistakes like that. And that was a young corner making a young corner mistake on a vet. And he held.
I'm going to add something because Jim Irsay just tweeted about this. I don't know if you saw it. But he said, no, me neither, but somebody sent this to me and said the NFL admits and understand that they did not make the correct call at the end of Sunday's Colts Browns game. I believe it's, and then he adds, I believe it needs to institute instant replay for all calls, including penalties, in the 2 minutes of the game. Last 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah, so they're talking about the pass interference at the end when they were already in the red zone.
Yeah, that one.
But the one that really mattered was the fumble one, right? And that happened. So, hey, man, you can't make those mistakes. If you're a corner, you know that the benefit of the doubt is not coming to you. You know you have to have your head turned in the red zone. That's just a young corner making a young corner mistake. And the Browns were able to execute on that drive. You still had 4 chances to keep the Browns out the end zone. The pass interference doesn't automatically award 7 points. And the Browns won it running right at the Colts' bread and butter, which is their defensive line. So, hey, you still had the opportunity to stop them. If this would happen to the Browns, y'all know I would be here talking about, hey, you still got to stop them no matter what happens in that game. You can't just fold over because, the refs. Like, you're going to have to play with what's in front of you. Play with the hand you dealt. And the Browns played with the hand that they were dealt, and they won with that hand, and that's all that matters in the NFL. Win with the hands you dealt. It's not a woulda, shoulda, coulda, did league. They don't give you awards, accolades, and championships in this league based on what could have happened. Yep. They give you them based on what you did with the cards you were dealt, and that's how it's judged. So, hey, Colts fans, y'all can be mad about it all you want, but it is what it is. I done seen plenty of these things go the opposite way, especially against other AFC North teams. Remember that pass interference no call against the Ravens? Like, it was what it was. You didn't get it. So, you lose those games, you win those games, but you got to find a way to win. And the Browns did that.
Okay. We have a list of super chat. We're gonna get to them, but I want Ace. What do you thought about this game? Because I know you tweeted this game.
Man. I mean, and speaking of tweeted, Jim Irsay just tweeted that the NFL admitted that they messed up the calls at the end of the game. Does that change the outcome of the game? No. I just feel like we were actually getting a good game, and I know people are gonna feel like he's a Bengals fan. He wanted the Browns to lose, but I honestly thought that was a good game. I thought it was an entertaining game. It came down to the last second. But I think the Browns took care of business. I mean, I think when you look at it, the last 2 games, the Browns have found a way to win, and they needed to find a way to win because we talked earlier in the show about this Deshaun Watson situation. They're finding ways to win without Deshaun Watson. Even in a game where the defense was kind of susceptible and did give up some points and yardage here, they still found a way to win. They found things that they were able to do while battling injuries. We've talked about injuries to the Browns this season. They end up losing another running back during this game, their other starting running back in this game. Kareem Hunt has to come in, and then they had – Q probably knows the other guy, but there was another guy that I didn't even know that was in there for the Browns taking care of.
Shout out Pierre Strong. Yeah, we traded for him.
Yes. Pierre Strong ends up entering the game. I'm doing his thing, but this was a game that, if you guys remember, I called it a trap game because I'm like, the Colts are a pretty good team. Obviously the Browns are a good team, but to not overlook a team like the Colts, I don't think that the Browns did, but this one came down to the very end, and I think it's because that Colts team, like we kind of talked about, just lost AR. They were going to come out and play inspired, and I think that's what you kind of saw in this game. The only one thing that I will say is I still think that the Browns are one of the best defenses in the NFL, if not the top defense. But the historic defense thing with like the comparisons to the Broncos and the 2000 Bucks, I think we need to slow a little bit down on that talk, but I still think Myles Garrett is having a defensive player of the year kind of year. But you can't give up this much to Gardner Minshew and be considered with those teams. But I still think that they're one of the top defenses in the NFL. I still think that they can win without Deshaun Watson. They've showed that in 2 games. I don't see a reason why they would lose the next game, whether Deshaun Watson plays or not. This is going to be a team that is going to be in games. And so from what I'm seeing from this Browns team is they're finding a way to win. And sometimes you need, those calls or whatever it is. Sometimes they happen your way. But they also have had a lot of things not happen or not bounce their way with Deshaun being hurt and stuff right now. And they're still getting through it. So I think at the end of the day, if you're a Browns fan and you're looking at 4-2, that's very strong considering the situation with Watson that's been going on this season and where you've been at and being in those games where you've actually been able to pull them out. So I think that was a huge win for the Browns. Whether you want to talk about the calls or not, that's a whole other conversation, and that happens across the league. It doesn't just happen in Browns games. It happens across the league. I saw it happen in the Steelers game as well. It's happened probably in the Bengals game sometimes against other teams. But at the end of the day, the one thing that I think Irsay said, and this just needs to go across the NFL, you need to make everything reviewable. Like
the 2 minutes.
We gotta get to the point, because we can't get to the point where this happens in the Super Bowl or a playoff game and people are talking about this, because the bigger issue is this. Even though it might not be that the NFL is rigged, a lot of people are going to start thinking about Vegas. A lot of people are going to start thinking about FanDuel, and some of these situations that are happening after games. And they're going to be like, did the ref call that because of FanDuel or was it because of this? So they've got to get that corrected just for a bigger.
I will say though, I don't think bringing it to review is going to do what people want it to do, because just because you slow it down and you can see, oh, it was pass interference or it wasn't, that's not going to be what dictates this. If you've seen reviewable pass interference and how they're testing it being out in like these other spring leagues, it's about, can you see it at real time? It does not matter if you can see it in slow motion. So that's how those calls get judged when they go to review. And just like we saw when they implemented it earlier, it just doesn't change as much as you want it to change, or it's not going to be this definitive stake in, oh, okay, that's going to get all of these pass interference plays that aren't. Like, maybe if it's egregious, it gets in there, but very rarely do we have an egregious pass interference either get missed or not get called. Yeah. So yeah,
I think in this game he did commit pass interference. I think the question was the pass catchable in the first place?
Well, the thing with catchable ball is it's not in the way that we think catchable ball works, where it's like, oh, can he physically go up and grab it? It's like, did the quarterback intend to throw the ball to him? It's more like intentional grounding. And as long as the quarterback intended to throw the ball to him and you can clearly put that out there, it's technically a catchable ball.
But if the NFL is telling the Colts that they made the wrong call, then
somebody just refuted that and said that that's not how that process happens. Is that it would be to something to Jim Irsay. So it's up in the air whether that actually happened. But yeah, it's just, I'm pretty sure that you can argue whether it was pass interference or not. And we can do this.
But so you're talking about Pelissero, where they're not allowed to comment publicly.
Yeah, so like somebody telling him that they said it was wrong is just not how that would work. Yeah. So it's just what it is. Like, you know, there's no perfect way to call pass interference to get 100% right, because everybody has a different ideal of it. And you know, how they will review it would be off game speed, and off game speed, there wasn't going to be enough to overturn that call. It was very subjective. Like, it could have been, it could have not. It was a bang, bang play. It didn't go their way. I understand, I understand the frustration, but also, the Browns shouldn't get 39 points on you with PJ Walker. And if this were the reverse, the coach shouldn't get 38 on you with Gardner Minshew. Nobody had a reason to feel screwed. You both should have lost. Like, it is what it is.
Okay, Nova's still here. We watched the QB ranking video. I said LJ second, MVP.
And you probably had a bunch of Brock Purdy super chats too. Come on.
Yeah, this was NFC West talk. You'd be talking something different, wouldn't you?
Nova also said 2 bad games don't define a QB.
Man, that's like 20% of his career, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's a significant chunk of young Brock Purdy's career. So
Benjamin here says, I know y'all not going to let Ace and Omar off the hook with their confidence in Lions. Sonny,
look, man. Look, I'm gonna say this.
You and Q.
Ace never said no blowout. Now, I said that they could lose to a team that was 5-1. If I remember correctly, what was the poll results on that game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Y'all trying to run away from the smoke. There are 2 people on this podcast that get to stand on this chat. 2 people and 40% of the chat, because y'all wasn't rolling with me. I remember I was appalled. 70% of people went with Matt Stafford and 60% of y'all went with Jared Goff. After I told you y'all have less excuses than the host. Okay.
But y'all all in chat acting like y'all wasn't voting for the Lions too.
That's true.
Okay.
Statistically speaking, it's not probable.
So Benjamin, Benjamin, the only thing I will tell you from my side is, as soon as I saw Guru predicting the big booty beatdown, I didn't have to say anything. Because Q said, bring your Shane. I'm like, I don't want to reverse the reverse jinx. You know what? I'm just going to let it be. I knew at that point, you know what? We might have a blow on our hands, but not the one the Guru thinks. Second Guru.
Guru, you got any Steeler chains? You want to break them out?
Also,
I got
Victor
rings.
here.
I got 6 rings.
Break them out. Let's see them.
Victor here says, I really enjoy all of you. Shout out to you, man. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if all 4 NFC North teams make the playoffs this season. Who they all day too. We talk about that being a possibility.
Right now, as it stands, isn't that the case? Like, if the playoffs were to start today, wouldn't all AFC North teams be in the?
It's the
I
Bengals.
don't think the Bengals would be in.
I thought I saw the Bengals were like the six seed. Or no?
Let me look at it.
Remember, we
So
have 7.
1, the Chiefs, 2, Miami, 3, Baltimore, Steelers are 5, Browns are 6, Bills are 7, then the Cincinnati Bengals are in a 3-way tie on the bubble.
Okay. But there is definitely a possibility.
Hey
Kyle
man,
Rose.
the teams in front of you are the Texans and the Jets. There is a significant possibility.
Yeah. Kyle Rose here with 50 Canadian dollars says TJ Watt is a great player, but he wouldn't be putting up these numbers going against left tackle like Hendrickson and Garrett. He ain't going against Trent Williams and other elite tackles. He goes against the weak side and not the big.
That's the first time I've heard that brought up. Like,
I've heard it before.
I'm not saying that it's true, but I'm surprised that Browns fans aren't like, because a lot of people get carried away with the left tackles are more superior than right tackles. It's the blind side, like, kind of argument. So I'm surprised that that's the first time I'm hearing that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think like right tackles and left tackles are pretty much caught up to each other at this point.
That's what I think. Quarterback is left-handed. The right tackle is the blind side. So.
Yeah, so it's like, and some teams better tackles on the right side. I mean, the Browns are living that life right now. DeJuan Jones, our best tackle, he's on the right side.
Right.
Yeah, so it depends on a matchup basis. But again, you can always make the argument, and this is why this argument will never stop. TJ Watt is more consistent with his production, right? He will give you more consistent production. Yep. Myles Garrett, though, his ceiling of when he has a great game is crazy. Like, it's just unmatched. And that's always going to be a hard debate to have. They're both Hall of Fame players. Y'all know how I feel about it. Myles is better in my opinion. I'd rather have the high ceiling guy, but it's a preference question. And, if you like the consistency of TJ Watt, go ahead, take TJ Watt.
Ray Rack here says Dustin Hopkins is the first kicker ever to convert a 50 plus minus yard field goal in 5 consecutive games during a single season.
No disrespect to Dustin. I'm appreciative, and the Browns have asked far too much from him. But one day he gonna have a bad game, and y'all gotta remind me. I gotta give him grace. Y'all gotta remind me. He gonna miss a kick, dog. He's kicking way too well. Okay, the same way I was like Jared Goff's playing way too good. Dustin Hopkins is not this good. Like, he's gonna have a bad game. He might have a bad couple, but I gotta give him that grace.
Ray right here is for Tom Pelissero. The NFL communicates to teams on a weekly basis about various calls. Team officials are prohibited from commenting publicly on those discussions. Now, a team owner has publicly said the league admitted to official mistake.
And it's Jim Irsay. Like, Jim Irsay would have.
That's what I'm like. I'm not too surprised Jim Irsay did it, though. If it was somebody that was supposed to
remember when he was acting like he was going to sign Lamar?
Yeah, I do remember that.
LJ, Sanoa still here said LJ had 2 bad games in 19, Browns and Chiefs.
Mm-hmm. Some people got so much confidence off of those 2 bad games that they said some rather foolish stuff.
Okay, before we go, Guru, do you want to give your take on the? Well, I don't know if he's there. He is.
Is he doing the dinner?
I don't know, Guru.
Dinner?
Man, I'm getting ready for tonight. But listen.
Oh.
Listen, no. Listen, fellas. I'm not high on Cleveland. Your defense allowed Gardner Minshew. Like I heard you, Ace. I gotta disagree with you. They're not one of the best defenses in the league. This is back-to-back weeks of me seeing things that can be big holes when they play the Steelers. The first one is the secondary. At times, Michael Pittman, Alex Pierce, they just look like all-pro receivers. Something's lacking in terms of the secondary. The Juan Thornhill experiment hasn't really worked out in their best interest. I'm really curious in what you think, Q, because your secondary, besides Myles Garrett, I'm still waiting on Zadarius Smith. I heard great things about Zadarius Smith being
What?
one of the better edge rushers, and I'm not impressed. Okay, and then let me tell you something else. Gardner Minshew had 500 yards on offense. So what is Kenny Pickett going to do? What is Lamar Jackson going to do?
What did Kenny Pickett do
Joe Burrow
last
going to
time?
do? What is Joe Burrow going to do?
What did Joe Burrow do last time?
You let Jonathan Taylor get revitalized back from the dead. I'm not high on you. Your defense is overrated, and PJ Walker is the new signal caller. So defenses are going to keep letting Kevin Stefanski protect him. Deshaun Watson will be on IR tomorrow, and listen here, you might want to start looking at Jacoby Brissett, bringing him back, brother.
You don't want us to do that. You ain't got a good record against Jacoby. But we'll see who talking that talk November 20th. Come on.
November 19th, to be fair, but I can't wait. Oh my God, can't wait.
No. November 19th is the game.
Oh,
It's spicy again.
That's
Spicy again.
Look. He asked me what Joe Burrow gonna do against this Browns defense. Ace, would you like to tell him what happened?
Oh man, don't
like
throw me into this now.
Yeah, don't bring Ace.
We'll want to do that one. Yeah, Kenny Pickett, missed the fourth quarter, had -7 yards of offense against this Browns defense. Look, man, I know that it was a bad game for this Browns defense. They're gonna have a bad game or two. They were on pace to do stuff that like even the 2000 Ravens didn't do. They were gonna have a couple of back to earth games, and they had a back to earth game. And I don't know why anybody think I'm about to be surprised. I predicted this. So yeah. Of course, they had a back-to-earth game. But the same way they're going to have a back-to-earth game, see that little game Kenny Pickett had this week? He's going to have a back-to-earth game from average. And that should be your concern.
That Friday. You don't need to be talking about somebody you can't beat. He's 2-0 versus you. Thank you.
Hey, man, congratulations. You're 2-0 against the Browns. But, hey, we'll see what happens when you play them at home. We'll see what happens when the Browns play Kenny Pickett. We'll see who's having a good day, who's not. I feel pretty confident the Browns going to win that game. I'm not really sweating that one. I'm more worried about Baltimore and Baltimore.
Featuring Coiler Ray says, tell me he just didn't say that. Thank you for the donation. Okay, saying that, we'll be back Friday, breaking week 8. Damn, it's already going to week 8. So make sure you sub. If you haven't subscribed, hit that bell. Also, on the Patreon side, we're going to be working on that video on the trade market and what can teams be adding. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. We'll see y'all next time. Peace out.